The Awakening. The signal arrived on a Tuesday. Dr. Sarah Chen was reviewing data from the quantum array network when she noticed the anomaly. A pattern so subtle it almost seemed like background noise. But there was something about its regularity that caught her attention. After 20 years of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, she had learned to trust her instincts. "James, can you verify something for me?" She called to her colleague, Dr. James Martinez, who was calibrating equipment across the laboratory. The New Mexico facility housed Earth's most advanced quantum communication array, a project that had united the world's leading scientists in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. James walked over, his coffee mug leaving a ring on her desk as he leaned in to examine the data. "That's interesting," he said, his voice careful and measured. "Run it through the new pattern recognition algorithm." Sarah had already started the analysis. The quantum computer hummed quietly in the background, processing the signal through layers of sophisticated filters. What emerged made both scientists step back in surprise. The pattern wasn't just regular. It was complex beyond anything they had ever encountered. It contained embedded layers of information, each more intricate than the last. But what truly shocked them was its origin. The signal wasn't coming from distant space. It was coming from within Earth's own quantum field. Within hours, similar reports began flooding in from quantum research facilities around the globe. The pattern was everywhere, woven into the very fabric of reality itself. It had always been there, waiting for humanity to develop the technology to perceive it. This wasn't first contact. This was a wake-up call. The discovery sparked a global revolution in quantum physics. Teams of scientists worked around the clock, decoding layer after layer of information. What they found challenged everything humanity thought they knew about the universe. The pattern wasn't just a message. It was a key, unlocking new understandings of physics, mathematics, and consciousness itself. 3 months after the initial discovery, Dr. Chen stood before the United Nations Security Council, her hand steady despite the weight of what she was about to reveal. The chamber was packed, with representatives from every nation hanging on her every word. "The pattern," she began, her voice clear and strong, "is part of a galactic communication network. We've been living within it our entire existence, but only now have we developed the technology to access it. And," she paused, looking around the room, "we're not alone in the network. We've detected others, many others." The room erupted in whispers and exclamations. Sarah waited for silence before continuing. "But here's what's truly remarkable. Our method of accessing the network is unique. While other civilizations built massive structures to tap into these quantum fields, humanity developed a more elegant solution. Our quantum computers, developed through peaceful scientific cooperation, achieved the same result with a fraction of the resources. As if on cue, every quantum-capable device on Earth activated simultaneously. Holographic projections appeared in the air, coalescing into a form that was decidedly non-human. The being appeared to be composed of shifting geometric patterns, its body a complex dance of light and energy. "Greetings, children of Earth," the being spoke, its words translated perfectly into every human language simultaneously. "I am Observer Teth, representative of the collective. For 3 millennia, we have watched your development with great interest. You are the first species to achieve quantum consciousness through peaceful means alone." The silence in the UN chamber was absolute. Sarah felt her heart pounding as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just made first contact. They had passed some sort of test they hadn't even known they were taking. "Your species has demonstrated remarkable qualities," Observer Teth continued. "While others reached for weapons, you reached for understanding. While others built walls, you built bridges. But now comes the true test. The galaxy is far more complex and dangerous than you imagine. The question before the collective is simple. Are you ready to join us?" Dr. Martinez stepped forward, his voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. "What exactly does this test entail?" The geometric patterns of observer Teth's form shifted, creating what appeared to be something like an alien smile. Your very question demonstrates why you are unique. Other species ask about rewards, about power, about weapons. You ask about the nature of the challenge itself. This is why we have hope for your kind. The observer's form expanded, filling the chamber with shifting patterns of light. 3 trials await humanity. Each will test not your military might or technological superiority, but your capacity for innovation, empathy, and resolve. You have already shown promise in all 3 areas. Now you must prove these traits were not mere accidents of evolution. As the being spoke, quantum displays around the world lit up with detailed information about the trials. Scientists, politicians, and civilians alike found themselves poring over data that would have been incomprehensible just months ago. Humanity's understanding of quantum physics had grown exponentially since discovering the pattern, and now they would need every bit of that knowledge. You have 1 orbital cycle of your planet to prepare, Observer Teth announced. Use this time wisely. Remember, these trials are not merely tests. They are opportunities to demonstrate why humanity deserves a place among the stars. With that, the projection vanished, leaving behind a stunned silence that lasted several heartbeats before the chamber erupted in discussion. Sarah turned to James, seeing in his eyes the same mix of fear and excitement she felt. 3,000 years of peace, she whispered. They were watching us the whole time. James nodded, already pulling up data on his quantum tablet. And now they want to see what we do when faced with a real challenge. He smiled, the expression both nervous and determined. Should we tell them that humanity tends to be at its best when challenged? Sarah looked around the room, watching as representatives from nations that had once been bitter enemies now huddled together, sharing information and beginning to plan. A small smile crossed her face. I think they're about to find out. The challenge. Preparation for the trials transformed Earth in ways no one could have predicted. The quantum network that had revealed the collective's existence now served as humanity's greatest tool, connecting minds and resources across the globe with unprecedented efficiency. Traditional barriers between nations, cultures, and disciplines dissolved in the face of their shared purpose. At the newly established Global Response Center in Geneva, Dr. Chen watched as holographic displays showed the latest simulation results. The room buzzed with activity as scientists, philosophers, artists, and leaders from every corner of the world collaborated. They had spent 3 weeks decoding the trial requirements, and what they found was both fascinating and terrifying. The first trial isn't just about innovation. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a quantum physicist from Tokyo, explained to the assembled team. Her hologram stood at the center of the room, gesturing at complex probability matrices floating in the air. It's about understanding why we innovate. The collective wants to see how we approach problems, not just whether we can solve them. They're studying our process, James added, manipulating a 3-dimensional model of human brain activity patterns. Look at these comparative scans. When other species in the collective face challenges, their neural patterns follow predictable paths. But humans. He expanded the display, showing a cascade of seemingly chaotic but subtly ordered neural connections. We create new pathways. We don't just think outside the box. We redesign the box while solving the problem. The first trial's parameters had been deceptively simple. Solve an engineering problem that had stumped the collective for millennia. They needed to find a way to stabilize quantum singularities without massive energy expenditure. Previous civilizations had approached this challenge by building increasingly powerful containment systems. But as humanity studied the problem, they began to see something different. Sarah stood up, her eyes bright with realization. We've been looking at this backwards, she announced. Everyone else tried to contain the chaos. But what if chaos isn't the enemy? What if it's the solution? The room fell silent as she pulled up her latest calculations. Look at how our minds work, she continued. We don't achieve stability by suppressing random thoughts and connections. We achieve it by integrating them into a larger pattern. What if we could apply the same principle to quantum singularities? Observer Teth's geometric form materialized in the room, startling several participants. The being had been making random appearances during their preparation period, though no one was quite sure whether these were true visits or some form of automated monitoring. An interesting approach, the observer noted. You seek to solve the problem by changing your understanding of what constitutes a problem. This is unexpected. Isn't that the point? A new voice joined the conversation. Dr. Maya Patel, a philosopher and cognitive scientist from Mumbai, stepped forward. You've watched humanity for 3,000 years. You've seen how we handle challenges. We don't just overcome them. We transform them. When we couldn't fly, we didn't just build machines to lift us into the air. We reimagined our relationship with gravity itself. The observers' patterns shifted in what they had learned to recognize as intense interest. And you believe this approach will succeed where others have failed. We don't know, Sarah admitted, her honesty drawing another ripple through the observer's form. But that's also part of who we are. We're comfortable with not knowing. It drives us to explore, to question, to imagine new possibilities. The room's quantum displays suddenly blazed with new information. Data about previous attempts to solve the singularity problem. The collective was sharing their failures, thousands of them, each representing centuries of effort by different civilizations. You have 7 planetary rotations remaining before the first trial begins, Observer Teth announced. We present you with our failures not to discourage you, but because your species has demonstrated an unusual ability to learn from the mistakes of others. Another trait we find intriguing. As the observer's form faded, the room erupted in activity. Teams began analyzing the new data, looking for patterns that previous civilizations might have missed. But they weren't just studying the failed attempts, they were studying the assumptions behind those attempts. Look at this, Dr. Tanaka called out, highlighting a section of data. Every species approached this with the same basic assumption, that chaos and stability are opposites. But what if they're two sides of the same coin? What if perfect stability can only emerge from perfect chaos? James laughed, drawing curious looks from his colleagues. You know what this reminds me of? Jazz music. It seems chaotic on the surface, but there's a deep structure underlying the improvisation. Maybe what we need isn't a better containment field. We need a quantum jazz symphony, Sarah finished, her eyes wide with understanding. A system that doesn't fight against quantum uncertainty, but dances with it. As the team began translating this metaphorical insight into concrete physics, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The collective had chosen to watch Earth for 3,000 years, waiting to see what humanity would become. Now they were about to discover something unprecedented, a species that faced universal challenges not with force or fear, but with curiosity, creativity, and an almost childlike willingness to question everything. The first trial would begin in 7 days, and humanity was about to show the galaxy a completely new way of thinking. The innovation. The day of the first trial arrived with an aurora that circled the entire planet, a side effect of the quantum phenomena the collective used to observe Earth. In research centers across the globe, humanity's brightest minds made final adjustments to their unprecedented solution. At the heart of their approach was what they'd coined the resonance theory, the idea that quantum singularities could be stabilized not through brute force containment, but through harmony. They had built a network of quantum resonators that, instead of fighting against quantum uncertainty, would embrace and redirect it. Think of it like surfing, Sarah explained to the assembled collective observers, her hands moving through the holographic display as she spoke. Previous approaches tried to build bigger and stronger walls to hold back the ocean. We're proposing to ride the waves instead. Observer Teth's geometric form pulsed with what might have been skepticism. No species has ever suggested such an approach. The energies involved are beyond conventional control. Exactly, James interjected, stepping forward. That's why control isn't the answer. We're not trying to control the quantum fluctuations. We're trying to dance with them. The test chamber had been prepared in the Atacama Desert, far from population centers. The quantum singularity they would attempt to stabilize hung suspended in a conventional containment field. For now. Around it, humanity's resonators waited, their design unlike anything the collective had seen before. Each resonator incorporated principles found in nature: the golden ratio, fractal patterns, and even musical harmonics. The team had drawn inspiration from everything from spider webs to jazz improvisations to create a system that could adapt and respond to quantum fluctuations in real time. As the final countdown began, Sarah felt a moment of doubt. They were about to attempt something that countless advanced civilizations had deemed impossible. If they failed, the containment breach could be catastrophic. "Remember," she said to her team, "every great innovation in human history seemed impossible until it wasn't. Flight, quantum computing, instantaneous global communication. We achieved each by seeing patterns others missed." The conventional containment field began to power down. The singularity's energy readings spiked, exactly as everyone had expected. But this time, instead of trying to suppress those spikes, the resonators began to respond, creating intricate patterns of quantum interference that moved and shifted with the singularity's pulses. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The singularity continued its chaotic fluctuations, threatening to break free. Several of the collective observers shifted uncomfortably, their geometric forms displaying patterns that suggested alarm. Then, slowly, something remarkable began to occur. The quantum resonators weren't just responding to the singularity's chaos, they were learning from it. Each fluctuation was met with a corresponding harmonic response, creating a complex dance of energy and probability. "Look at these readings," Dr. Tanaka called out, her voice filled with wonder. "The system isn't just stabilizing the singularity, it's establishing a symmetric relationship with it. It's beautiful." And it was. The holographic displays showed cascading patterns of energy that resembled nothing so much as a cosmic ballet. The singularity's chaos was being transformed into order, not through domination, but through cooperation. Observer Teth moved closer to the displays, their form shifting through patterns never before seen by human eyes. "This is unprecedented. You are not merely containing the singularity, you are communicating with it." "In a way, yes," Sarah confirmed. "Every chaotic system has its own internal logic, its own kind of music. We just had to learn how to listen to it, then join in the dance." The implications went far beyond just stabilizing quantum singularities. Humanity had demonstrated an entirely new way of approaching universal challenges. Instead of seeing chaos as an enemy to be conquered, they had revealed it as a partner in the cosmic dance. As the resonators continued their work, more collective observers arrived, their geometric forms filling the chamber with shifting patterns of light and energy. They communicated among themselves in quantum pulses that the human scientists were only beginning to understand, but the general sentiment was clear. Something extraordinary was happening. "You have not merely solved the problem," Observer Teth announced finally. "You have transformed our understanding of the problem itself. This is..." The being paused, searching for the right words. "This is why we watched your species for so long. You see connections that others miss, patterns within patterns. But more than that, you are willing to question fundamental assumptions that other species take for granted." But even as the observers celebrated humanity's success, Sarah noticed something curious in the quantum data streams. Hidden beneath the surface communications, there was another layer of information being exchanged among the collective members. Something urgent, something worried. She caught James's eye and saw that he had noticed it too. Their success had proved something about humanity, yes, but perhaps something more than they had intended, something that seemed to both excite and alarm their galactic observers. The first trial was complete, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they had just stumbled onto a much bigger mystery. As she studied the quantum readings, a pattern began to emerge, one that suggested the trials weren't just tests of humanity's abilities. They were preparation for something far more challenging. The understanding. In the days following humanity's success with the quantum singularity, Earth buzzed with celebration and speculation. But in a secured quantum laboratory beneath Geneva, Sarah Chen and her team worked frantically to decode the hidden patterns they'd discovered in the collective's communications. There, James said, highlighting a recurring quantum signature in the data stream. It's subtle, but it's definitely there. A form of quantum encryption we weren't meant to notice. Sarah studied the pattern, her mind racing. Humanity's unique approach to quantum physics, seeing it as a dance rather than a battleground, had given them insights that the collective hadn't anticipated. They could see layers of information that were supposed to remain invisible. "They're afraid," Dr. Tanaka said quietly, her hands moving through the holographic display. "Not of us, but of something else. Look at the temporal markers in these communications. Whatever they're worried about, it's getting closer." The quantum displays suddenly flickered, and Observer Teth's form materialized in the chamber. But something was different this time. The being's geometric patterns showed signs of distortion, subtle irregularities that hadn't been present before. "You have perceived what we tried to conceal," the observer stated, their form shifting uncomfortably. "Perhaps we should have expected this. Your species has consistently demonstrated an unusual ability to see beyond surface patterns." "What are you hiding from?" Sarah asked directly. "And why go through the elaborate process of testing us instead of simply asking for help?" The observer's form rippled with what might have been surprise. Most species, upon discovering our deception, respond with anger or fear. You immediately offer help instead. This is why we chose Earth." The chamber's quantum field expanded, and suddenly they were surrounded by a vast holographic display of the galaxy. But this wasn't the peaceful cosmos humanity had imagined. Throughout the spiral arms, points of darkness were spreading, consuming light and matter alike. "We call them the void harmonics," Observer Teth explained. "They are not life as you understand it, nor are they simply natural phenomena. They are discordant patterns in the quantum fabric of reality itself. For millennia, we have fought them with every weapon and technology at our disposal. But they cannot be destroyed because they are not truly alive. They cannot be contained because they are not truly matter. They're like cancer in the quantum field," James murmured, studying the spread patterns. "But on a galactic scale." "An apt metaphor," the observer agreed. "They consume everything they touch, breaking down the fundamental forces that bind reality together. We have managed to slow their advance, but we cannot stop them. Not with force, not with technology, not with all the combined knowledge of 1,000 species." Sarah watched the holographic display, her mind racing. "This is why you were so interested in our approach to the quantum singularity. You weren't really testing us. You were hoping we'd show you something new." "Yes," Observer Teth admitted. "Your species is unique in the galaxy. Where others see chaos as an enemy to be conquered, you see it as a dance to be joined. Where others build walls, you build bridges. Even your art, your music, your literature. They all reflect a fundamental understanding of harmony that we have never seen before." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just been proving their worth to join a galactic community. They had been auditioning for a role they never knew existed. Perhaps the most important role in the history of the galaxy. "The trials," Sarah said slowly, "they're not really about proving ourselves, are they? They're about preparing us. Teaching us what we need to know so we can help you fight these void harmonics." "Not fight," the observer corrected. "We have fought for too long, and it has only delayed the inevitable. We need you to show us a new way. Your solution to the quantum singularity problem proved what we had hoped, that your species might understand something about the fundamental nature of reality that we have missed." Dr. Tanaka stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the spreading darkness in the galactic display. "You said these void harmonics are discordant patterns. What if they're not the enemy? What if they're just another part of the cosmic dance that's fallen out of step?" The observer's form pulsed with intense interest. "Explain." In music, dissonance isn't inherently bad, she continued. It's essential to harmony. Without tension, there can be no resolution. What if we've been thinking about this all wrong? What if the solution isn't to fight the void harmonics, but to help them find their place in the greater symphony of reality? Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine as she watched the quantum readings. The same patterns they used to stabilize the singularity were present in the void harmonics, but inverted, twisted out of alignment. "We're going to need everyone for this," she said finally. "Not just scientists, artists, musicians, philosophers, anyone who understands harmony and patterns. This isn't just a scientific problem. It's a symphony that needs rewriting." Observer Teth's form brightened. "Then you will help us." James laughed softly. "Did you really think we wouldn't? Humanity has never been able to resist a good puzzle, especially one that needs a creative solution." As the team began planning their approach to this unprecedented challenge, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The collective had watched humanity for 3,000 years, hoping to find a species that could help them save the galaxy. What they had found instead was a species that might help them transform it. The final trial lay ahead, but its true nature was now clear. It wasn't about proving humanity's worth to join the galactic community. It was about teaching humanity what they would need to know to help reshape the very fabric of reality itself. And somewhere in the quantum fields that connected all things, the void harmonics continued their discordant spread, unaware that a species of creative, pattern-seeing dreamers was about to invite them to join a very different kind of dance. The symphony. The final trial was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. In concert halls, laboratories, and quantum research centers across Earth, humanity prepared for what they had come to call the Great Harmony. The plan was audacious, unprecedented, and distinctly human in its approach. Traditional physics won't be enough, Sarah explained to the assembled representatives of Earth and the collective. They stood in the Sydney Opera House, chosen not for its scientific capabilities, but for its perfect acoustic properties. "We need to combine everything we know about patterns, harmony, and resonance, from every field of human knowledge." The Great Hall had been transformed. Quantum resonators were integrated with musical instruments. Mathematicians worked alongside composers. Physicists consulted with dancers about movement and flow. The entire building had become a giant quantum instrument, designed to play a symphony unlike any ever performed. "The void harmonics aren't our enemy," James addressed the gathering. Standing before a massive quantum display, showing the spread of darkness across the galaxy. "They're lost dancers in the cosmic ballet. We're not going to fight them. We're going to teach them a new way to move." Observer Teth and dozens of other collective representatives watched with a mixture of confusion and fascination as humans set up their unprecedented experiment. Their geometric forms flickered with uncertainty as they observed instruments being tuned, not just to musical frequencies, but to quantum resonances. "Every culture on Earth has music," Dr. Tanaka explained to the observers. "Every culture understands harmony and discord. We've spent thousands of years learning how to turn chaos into beauty. Now we're going to do it on a quantum scale." The plan was both simple and impossibly complex. Using the quantum resonance technology they had developed for the singularity trial, enhanced with principles drawn from music, art, and dance, they would attempt to establish a harmonic connection with the nearest cluster of void harmonics. Sarah took her position at the central control interface, which looked more like a conductor's podium than a scientific instrument. Around her, musicians readied their instruments, each modified to generate specific quantum frequencies along with their musical notes. Dancers took their places, their movements designed to help shape the quantum fields. "Remember," she called out to her global team, "connected through the quantum network, we're not trying to destroy or contain. We're inviting them to join a new dance." The performance began with a single note, a perfect, a 440, carried on both sound waves and quantum frequencies. Other instruments joined in gradually, building a complex harmony that existed simultaneously in physical and quantum space. The dancers began to move, their patterns helping to shape and direct the quantum fields. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The void harmonics continued their destructive spread through the sector of space they had targeted. But then, almost imperceptibly, something changed. "Look," James called out, pointing to the quantum readings. "They're responding." The dark patterns of the void harmonics had begun to shift, their movement changing from random destruction to something more rhythmic. They were resonating with the harmony humanity was creating. "Increase amplitude," Sarah commanded, and the symphony swelled. The quantum fields rippled with energy as sound and science merged into something entirely new. The dancers moved faster, their patterns growing more complex, helping to weave the quantum frequencies into an intricate tapestry of order and chaos. Observer Teth's form blazed with intense light. Impossible. They are not just stopping. They are transforming. In the quantum displays, they could all see it happening. The void harmonics were no longer spreading like a cancer. Instead, they were beginning to move in patterns that matched the symphony, their destructive energy transforming into something new, a kind of quantum harmony that no one had ever seen before. "Now," Sarah called out, "the bridge." This was the most crucial part of their plan. Using principles derived from their study of quantum singularities, they would attempt to establish a permanent harmonic relationship with the transformed void harmonics. The symphony reached its crescendo, billions of quantum particles dancing in perfect harmony with the music. And then something miraculous happened. The void harmonics didn't just stop their destruction. They began to create. Where they touched the quantum fabric of space, they left behind patterns of incredible beauty and complexity. They were no longer breaking reality apart. They were helping to weave it together in new ways. "They were never meant to be destroyed," Sarah said softly, watching the transformation. "They were just playing their part in a symphony we hadn't learned to hear yet." The observer's geometric forms pulsed with patterns that suggested deep emotion. "In all our millennia of existence," Observer Teth spoke, "we never imagined such a solution. We sought to impose order through force, never understanding that true harmony must include both order and chaos." As the symphony continued, its effects spread through the quantum network that connected the galaxy. Other clusters of void harmonics began to respond, drawn to the new harmony that humanity had created. The destruction that had threatened to unravel the galaxy was transforming into a force for creation and renewal. "This is just the beginning," James said, studying the quantum readings. "We're going to need to teach this new harmony to every species in the galaxy. It's not enough to transform the void harmonics. We need to transform how everyone interacts with them." Sarah nodded, watching as the last notes of the symphony faded away, leaving behind a quantum field that hummed with new possibility. That's what humanity does best, isn't it? We see patterns others miss. We find harmony in chaos. We transform problems into opportunities. Observer Teth approached the podium, their form shimmering with what could only be described as joy. "We watched your species for 3,000 years, hoping you might help us save the galaxy. Instead, you have shown us how to transform it. The age of conflict is over. The age of harmony begins." As celebrations erupted around the world and across the galaxy, Sarah looked out at the quantum display showing the transformed void harmonics, now moving in beautiful, creative patterns through space. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge not with weapons or walls, but with music and mathematics, art and science, creativity and courage. They had proven that the greatest power in the universe wasn't force or fear, but the ability to see the dance in the chaos, the music in the noise, the potential for harmony in even the darkest discord. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity, with its unique gift for finding patterns in chaos and beauty in the unknown, would help lead the way into a new era of cosmic cooperation and creativity. After 3,000 years of peace, humanity hadn't just met the challenge. They had transformed it into an opportunity for something greater than anyone had imagined possible. And somewhere in the quantum fields that connected all things, a new symphony was just beginning to play.